This Morgan Supersport is made of this. Yep, that's right. It's 2025 and cars are being built with wood. What on earth? So how can you build a car using century-old methods and charge over £100,000 for it? We're going to follow the full build of the Supersport through the factory, showing you every step of the process before we drive the car on the road to see if it's as special as it looks. So this is Jonathan Wales. Jonathan is the Chief Design Officer at Morgan, and he is going to take us around the factory and show us through the build process of the Supersport. And it's a lovely factory, isn't it, Jonathan? It's a great place to be. It's my first time here, so it's great to see the history of the place, actually. And there is a lot of history here to look at.
Absolutely. Awesome. I didn't realise it was your first time. Good.
Yeah.
Well, we've got loads to cover. Where we're stood right now, actually, is one of the original factory buildings. So Morgan was founded in 1909. HFS Morgan had quite a simple dream to stop walking up the hills every day to get home from work and drive. So he built a very lightweight, high-powered cycle car, three-wheeled car. And after a few years, realised that he could manufacture these in series and started building those three-wheelers actually in this building here.
This very one.
So right behind me, you'll see a few of these sort of wooden stillages, these pigeonholes, we call them now. But originally the guys would have all come up from the building next door, stood somewhere around here and taken their parts out of all these pigeonholes and gone back to build their cars.
So this is where the parts were stored?
In 1914. There's
Incredible.
actually a groove in the floor here where they would have probably been leaning on the desk.
To get their parts. Yeah. Amazing. Incredible history. Shall we go and have a look then?
Let's go take a look.
Production process. Sounds great.
So we're about to enter the main factory building. The first part of the process is anything that we don't make gets delivered here into these big storerooms here. To be honest, we manufacture most things ourselves. The engine comes from Germany, but otherwise our footprint's pretty much around the West Midlands in the UK, but certainly largely in the UK. I love this old
it's a massive lathe, isn't it?
Looks like an old museum piece, but actually this isn't a black and white photo from 50 years ago. This was taken just last year. Until very recently, this machine was still in full operation. And that for me kind of summarises Morgan. Nowadays, we do have a suite of CNC machines. We have some 3D printers. We use all the modern design technology to develop the cars. And you'll see underneath the cars are very modern. But we also have some very traditional skills, not just in woodwork and sheet metal, but also in machining. And keeping those skills alive and using equipment like this is a big part of what we do at Morgan.
And it's rare, isn't it? Because it's fading. All those skills are fading.
That's right.
Do you know how old that would be, John, that lathe?
I don't, but I know several of the machines around here are sort of pre-war.
Amazing.
Alongside the new stuff. So it's a bit like the workforce itself, actually. We've got a few guys that look like they're pre-war and a few brand new apprentices. But
Great. So first things first, chassis. That's how it starts.
This is right, this is where it all starts. So you might have seen the chassis in the bottom of the yard as you walked in.
Yeah.
What's quite nice about Morgan and the way we approach our build of our cars is the chassis is pretty well common between a 4-cylinder, a 6-cylinder, left-hand drive, right-hand drive, manual or auto. Up until very recently, it was common. Now we have a slightly different iteration of chassis for the Supersport in particular. It's our next generation of chassis. It's called the CXV chassis. It's still bonded and riveted aluminium structure, but it's a lot stiffer than the outgoing CX chassis, and all of the corner geometry has been changed.
Okay.
So those chassis, or tubs as we call them, go onto these big skates.
Yeah.
This enables them to be turned around, upside down, to do all the clipping on the underside. And as you walk along the line here, you can see that these cars become very well established at this point. So this here is a Supersport in build. It has all of its corners, its fuel tank, all of the wiring looms, the electrical harnesses, the brake lines, the engine gets dropped in. And essentially, as it leaves this shop, it's a fully operational vehicle. It will drive,
As it leaves
brake,
this room here?
It'll stop.
Okay.
So what we do at Morgan is we coach build cars. And the nature of coach building is you'd have a coach maker making the carriage, and that would sit on top of a modern metal machine beneath. So historically, Ferrari would build the metal machine, and maybe a Pininfarina would build the body.
Yeah.
Morgan do both halves to those process. So our body is not structural. It's purely for aesthetics and aerodynamics, but it sits on top of a totally structurally independent chassis.
Okay. And the chassis itself, John, that manufactured in-house, or is that comes externally, the actual aluminium frame itself?
It's all our design.
Yeah.
We are actually looking to, in the future, consider how much more of that we can manufacture.
Okay.
At the moment, it's done with one of our partners in the West Midlands, who do all the final bonding and riveting.
And so as the chassis comes to you, it could be a left-hand drive or it could be a right-hand drive one. It's just a case of then whatever the customer specs.
That's right.
Put the steering on one side, put it on the other side, change the other.
And things like that give us real efficiency in manufacture. It means that we can build to suit demand rather than being set up for hundreds of thousands of a particular type of car.
And it's not wood. I think that's a big misconception, isn't it? That the chassis of Morgan's is what's made of wood.
That's one of the things you hear as a designer at Morgan.
It's got a wooden chassis.
It's got a wooden chassis, or you must be good with a photocopier or something, you know. But no, the chassis is not now and never has been wooden.
No.
But it does have an ash wood frame that sits on top.
Which we'll see.
And I'll explain why we use that now.
And there's 2 suspension options, aren't there, for these?
That's right. Standard pack. So the standard pack, which to be honest is brilliant. And then there's an option for a fully adjustable Nitron damper package if you fancy that as well.
Is that single way adjustment on the dampers?
Yeah, single way adjustment on the dampers with a lot of clicks. But yeah, it just gives you that option to fine tune things to suit the driving style that you like. So over here on the left, we will see our engine dress. So we've actually got a Supersport engine being dressed right now. So that's a B58 engine, a BMW inline 6-cylinder. Produces about 335 brake horsepower. Car weighs about 1,100 kilograms.
Yeah, it's a lot of power to weight.
It is. It's not lacking for speed or power, that's for sure.
And do you kind of spec it from BMW as an off-the-shelf crate motor, or do you put your own tune on it, your own map? Do you ask them to kind of spec
so a lot of
specifically how you want?
Yeah, they are unique. So a lot of calibration is done with BMW and some of their partners to get the engine and the calibration correct for Morgan. It's obviously fully certified for most markets, and it is part and parcel of a very close working relationship we have with BMW.
It's an 8-speed.
That's right, ZF 8-speed automatic.
Has that got your own calibration on it as well?
Yeah, everything is set up and calibrated for Morgan,
And then you offer a optional exhaust package?
Yes, that's right.
Supersport as well?
Yeah, we do a sports exhaust package with a flap, just for those that want a little bit more of a
how's it sound?
Audible reward on downshift.
Sounds it better?
It's great, to be honest. I think they sound great at stock as well.
I'm sure they do,
it's I still find myself turning on the sports mode when I come home after a long journey, just so the kids know I've arrived back home. But
do you know how much that package weighs? Any idea?
I don't. That's a good question.
So I wonder how much percentage of the overall car is taken up in that.
A healthy amount.
Big chunk,
what I would say is it's sat directly behind the front axle.
Okay.
So the overall balance of a Morgan, despite that long bonnet, is very, very balanced. Okay. It's a sort of 50-50 front to rear.
So front axle.
So
you can kind of
really nicely balanced.
So the front suspension's kind of here, isn't it then?
That's it, right directly there, cooling pack in front of that. And then you've got the occupants. You're sat directly between the rear wheels, right on that H point, it's right between the rear wheels. So you feel every little lateral movement. You really are driving by the seat of your pants, as it were.
Yeah, 335 horsepower, big old lump, isn't it?
Yeah, it goes well.
Nice. The wood.
So this is the heart of it all.
Yeah, this is the wood shop.
So now that rolling chassis has been completed, fully built, fully operational, it can be set up, and we start working on the bodies. So you can see here how the wooden body sits on top of that aluminium chassis. Like I say, it's not structural, but it plays a vital part in the production of our cars. You can see here that the guys will be hand shaping, hand finishing, biscuit jointing, and putting together these wooden frames. And the beauty of the wood is it actually becomes the tool in which forms the panels. So it's soft enough, yet hard enough to be able to hammer the aluminium directly on top of and return it.
They'll lay the panels on it.
Absolutely,
beat the edges round so it gets the right shape. So these bits of wood, these are CNC'd to start with?
No, pretty simple wood mill out the back.
Okay.
So the same sort of traditional wood cutting machinery you'd have in a lot of wood shops, band saws and disc grinders, and they will hand cut and shape every single piece. We'll take a look at that. They put them all together, and what's the beauty for us is as designers, is whatever shape the wood creates, that's the shape the body takes on. So by altering this skin on top of this chassis, we've got a lot of flexibility in future to do different body styles on the same platform.
Okay, got it. So I suppose, seeing the guys here just sanding it down by hand, everyone's going to be microscopically different, aren't they? If one guy sands at 50 times, one guy sands at 51 times. So I guess the nature of a hand-built car is so nice to see it.
Interestingly, it's a good point. So you'll notice here, these little tiny reflective dots all over these tubs and structures.
Yeah.
That enables the quality team to consistently scan and compare and check what's being made by hand back to CAD to try and minimize that tolerance as much as possible. However, there's things we can do as designers as well, like having overlapping doors and hiding the edges of some panels to try and disguise some of that inevitable tolerance.
Yeah, okay. So these are like datum points. So
exactly.
They can reference back to the model.
The 3D scanners will recognise. So
amazing. And the type of wood then, John? Ash?
Yeah, we use ash wood. So ash is a hard wood, but it is relatively soft. The reason we use ash is it's quite fast growing. So you don't get lots of branches and knots appearing in the wood, because it's those disfigurement and that change in the wood that will relax over time and cause movement. So it's actually a very stable wood too.
And do you have to do much to protect it once it's gone on?
Yeah, we do. We dip it in a big vat of, what is it? It's like cuprinol, isn't it, out of the back? Which does a little bit just to control from pests. But to be honest, we don't really have any problem with that.
No.
It stays very, very stable. It's kiln dried and then left to acclimatise for a couple of years before we even use it as well.
And ash is what they would have used on the original one, same type of wood.
Historically, they used oak as well.
Okay.
We moved to ash across everything now, pretty much. It's also very good for absorbing noise, vibration, and harshness. We call it MVH.
Yeah.
And in car engineering, that's one of the big challenges, to control all those little frequencies. And it's really good for that. On the inside, we staple the leather directly to it as well. Okay. So you almost have a zero waste approach. There's no synthetic panels and synthetic foams to kill the vibration. We just use natural materials.
So it acts as the frame then, effectively, between the chassis and the body panels and some of the interior stuff. So it's not the chassis.
It's not the chassis.
It's the bit that goes onto the chassis. Yeah.
So each component of that frame is pre-cut in the mill here at the back of the shop.
So it comes through as one big,
finished.
One big billet. Is that how it starts out?
Yeah, essentially. There's billets. Yeah, exactly.
And is there a specific place or forest or area you get it from?
Yep. So all of this wood comes from Lincolnshire. Okay. So it's in the UK, and a sort of fully FCA approved forest, FSC approved forest. And we're planting trees for everyone that we take up.
Have the Lincolnshire ash trees got a certain something about them that makes them just right, or it's just kind of historically what you guys have used?
We've got a good historic partnership with that woodland there.
It's lovely stuff, isn't it?
And we have
really
other options, further afield, but we like having it from the UK too.
Yeah.
So that's how the majority of the wooden frame is made, from these sort of pre-cut parts that get hand assembled. That's another thing to note. Every craftsman will own their job. So it's not like a production line where everybody pops one piece on and the car moves along. They'll own the complete build of that frame. So when you commission your Morgan, you can come here and have a relationship with these guys
with the guy who does the frame for your car. That's amazing.
Exactly.
So cool. What's this then?
This is fun.
These are old school, John.
These really are old school. So these create the rear wheel arch of a Morgan. So you'll see in the back of the wooden frame, there's that sort of graphic on the back. And this shape hasn't really changed since 1950 on our +4 Morgan, on the sort of the iconic Morgan. So as a result, nor of the tools that make it. So these sort of date back to a 1940s, 1950, depends who you ask. I think one of these came a couple of years later when they realised having two would be more efficient than one.
And they're still used today. They're still accurate.
They still work.
That's amazing.
They glue up individually all the strips of veneer. So take lots of thin bits of wood, glue them up, and then they feed it in one end, and then only the bigger, stronger lads can sort of bend it in and put it in one go. When we have a celebrity visit or an apprentice here, we'll get them to have a go, and they usually end up over there. But once they're in, they clamp them up, and that holds that rear shape. And then nowadays, we press the rear panel, and then we hand finish it. And during that process, we had to create the metal tool. And that can be an investment of about, £250,000 for a big steel tool like that. So first thing we did was scan this profile and realize that it wasn't perfect. So it's obviously been drawn with a piece of string and a chalk at one point. The CAD guys and the engineers are wanting to make a mathematically perfect curve, but that would have meant sacrificing this. So we ended up scanning it, and now every wheel arch in a Morgan is slightly imperfect.
It's not. And
we paid for that privilege,
amazing,
just to keep this alive.
What a nice bit of history. So in the 40s or 50s, you reckon these were first used?
Like I said, it depends who you ask, but
and they're still going strong.
They're still going strong.
And do you know how long they have to stay in the jig for to set their shape?
About 3 hours, but they tend to leave them overnight.
Okay.
So and then they get hand finished and hand shaped.
So
then recently we changed things with Supersport. Supersport's got an elongated, more sort of lifted tail. That's really important for the aerodynamics. It gives us a stowage space as well, a boot in the rear. So we've now got the sort of great grandson of those guys with a more open, more relaxed curve. And this one is mathematically perfect. That is a perfectly concentric curve. Exactly. So over here in these bays, you can see we're doing a lot of the decorative wood. All of that ash wood frame that you've seen is now essentially hammered, and metalwork is sort of attached to it. It's pinned in place, it's welded on, it's painted on. It's not very attractive by the end of the build. So most of that actually gets hidden, but there is a lot of wood that is seen. Everything from small joints and finishes around dashboards.
Is this dashboard bit?
This here that's actually a door card off a Supersport. So that would sit on the door. This underneath it is a center column. And here we'll be applying veneers. So sometimes we'll use a sort of like a walnut or an ash or a zebrano, babinga. In fact, any wood you can imagine, we can veneer on top.
A babinga.
Here we've actually set in some aluminium into this wood to create a sort of pinstripe effect. And here they will all get sort of placed and laminated on.
The cutouts, are they hand routed or is that
a
bit of both?
They'll be hand routed, yeah. We have lots of jigs and templates and fixtures, things like this. You know, these will be machined from Uriel. It wouldn't be uncommon to see some 3D printed parts. Here's a 3D printed part. This won't go in the car, but it will enable these guys to have some sort of jig for running a router that will just make their life a lot quicker than having to mark it out by pencil. So here's a good example where modern technology is helping our efficiency, bringing Morgan on, helping us stay relevant, but without actually replacing the core craftsmanship of what we do.
Yeah.
So it gets a bit noisier in here.
Yeah.
Here you can see that wooden frame has now been treated, and we start to directly hammer form the aluminium onto the wood. So you'll see over my shoulder here, they're literally hammering and pinning and tacking the aluminium directly onto that ash wooden frame.
So it starts as a flat piece of aluminium.
That's right.
And then only because of the shape of the wood and what they're doing to it, it takes the form of that.
That's right.
Got it.
So you'll see there's some rollers over there. There's an English wheel. They'll put some of the shape in the panel. Offer it up to the wood, put a bit more in, and when it starts to follow the curvature perfectly, hammer it and fix it in place.
And this chap now is just sanding it, getting a nice finish on it.
That's right.
Ready for it to go.
It's been rolled, it's been hammered, it's been manipulated, and we're getting a nice finish on it now.
Does the hammering leave quite a lot of imperfections in the aluminium?
Yeah, it can do. I mean, these guys know what they're doing, but yeah, it certainly can do. In fact, we don't always hammer directly onto wood. You'll see lots of equipment like this. Again, another good example of modern technology working hand in hand.
Yeah.
In some areas of these cars, there's a perfect gap condition that needs to be achieved. So we have to be very, very accurate in terms of where the folds are.
A panel gap.
Yeah, like a panel gap.
Okay.
So in certain areas where two panels come together, we want to control a perfectly even shut line.
Okay.
So it's not opening and closing.
So that's what we use this for.
So then we use devices like this. So this is geometrically perfect.
And this is a front wing?
Rear wing, actually.
Rear wing, okay.
This is a Supersport rear wing. So the aluminium is placed in here, clamped down, and then we hammer it over onto these hard steel edges, which just gives us an absolutely geometrically perfect return. And all of these edges are returned. And then you can see there with these lines where the fixing marks are drilled so the panel can be attached to the car.
Okay. So you're not going to get any movement. I suppose on the ash, there might be a little bit of variation. Tiny bit. On this, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And the beauty of working with single skin aluminium like this, not making a sort of monocoque body, is there's just literally no weight to it. You know, you can feel it. I mean, that's the entire front end of the car.
That way, yeah, nothing to it. Amazing. So you've got proper panel beaters here doing proper metal work.
Come on,
to get stuff made.
So the wooden frame creates the shape. The aluminium is then cast over that, and that makes the central body of the car that you can see here.
Yeah.
The wings are made independently. Here you can see where that aluminium pod has been welded on and not yet dressed back. So essentially the body comes down vertically onto the car. The nose comes on from the front. The wings come on from the sides. And the piece of the puzzle that's missing is the bonnet.
Yeah.
Now essentially then each bonnet is made to the car. So you can see how it's scribed out and aligned to each vehicle. And that's a way of absorbing any tolerance. So all of those parts have come together from different angles. And the bonnet is the thing that makes it all perfect.
Okay, so the bonnet is purely handmade to take up any slight discrepancies in the rest of it?
That's where we absorb any slight misalignment. Now, back in the day, that misalignment might have been a couple of centimetres. Nowadays, a couple of millimetres, but still. But the bonnets start life as flat sheets of aluminium.
Yeah.
They're rolled through these rollers to give them shape. They're then cut off and scribed against the car, snipped with tin snips by hand, like a pair of scissors. And then using those fly presses over there, they'll press the individual vents that go along the top of the bonnet into place. A bonnet takes about 3.5 hours. A pair of bonnets takes about 3.5 hours.
That's both sides?
That's both sides,
yeah. Okay.
So essentially, at this point, the body is built. It's on top of the chassis.
Yeah.
It's been beaten up with a hammer for 3 weeks now, so it's starting to need a bit of love. And it comes into here, and this is the paint prep shop. So in here, the sort of layer of primer goes on the car. It's all hand flatted, hand finished, and smoothed out, ready for paint.
Yeah.
The car will then roll around the back, get a layer of paint, and then comes into here where we do all of the trim and the final finish of the car.
After you.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Oh, nice. So this is the
trim shot. Yeah,
you can smell it straight away, can't you? Yeah.
So guys like Austin here will be essentially responsible for trimming and cutting the materials for all parts of the cars. So in here we'll be manufacturing the hoods themselves, the roofs that go up and down.
And what are they made out of?
The seats, they're made of a mohair, so it's sort of a natural hair fibre.
Yeah.
The seats is all Scottish leather, so it all comes from Scottish Leather Group. Again, UK source materials.
Has that always been the same for you guys? Always
pretty well. We've jumped from a few different suppliers, but we've been with the Scottish Leather Group for the majority of the time, and to be honest, it's perfect, 100% quality.
It smells so good, doesn't it,
and
John?
you'll see we'll get that in on rawhide like this.
So you get a massive roll.
That's right, and that can be all different things. You have smooth grains, pebbled textures like this.
So this is a pebble.
One thing where Morgan different to others is where some manufacturers would have different grades of leather, A grades on a seat and then sort of C grades in the footwells. We just use A grade leather everywhere.
Okay,
so it's all
that's
very
an A grade
quality.
pebble.
Absolutely,
finish,
that's a pebble finish.
Whereas
ivory.
these seats are a smooth. That's a smooth. Is
smooth
it?
grain. This is a sort of fawn, we call this one. And you can see here, this particular customer's opted for horizontal twin needle pleats, very traditional. Most twin needle stitching all the way around the outside. This piping matches the seat, which again we prefer on the whole. And then here he's just accented his headrest with a blue.
So that matches.
Could have a body colour or a
maybe.
roof or some other detail on the car in blue.
But I saw you can also get like chevron or cross.
That's right.
Crosshatch
Quilting, box stitch, pleats. You can make up your own if you want. You can send a logo in and we can turn that into an embroidery file.
And then what, we've got lumbar support.
That's right. Yeah, we've got these plethora of odd little squeezy toys at the bottom here, which just does your lumbar, your thigh bags, your bolsters, and you adjust the car like that. And then you've got obviously your recline function.
It's got adjustable thigh support.
Yeah,
as well.
adjustable thigh support, so you can just bump it up.
Cool.
I mean, to be honest, we can plug sort of electric compressors in there and have it all done electrically, but you're adding a lot of weight to the car then.
Yeah.
To keep these cars around 1,000 kilograms.
Yeah, you don't know.
That's quite like the analog touch. It's a bit of a
nice,
novelty.
isn't it? It suits the car, yeah.
So the nice thing here, we talked about the wooden frame not being visible because it's sort of hammered upon and it's sanded upon. On a Supersport, this piece of wood here doesn't actually have any aluminium hammered on it because it's the closure where the boots.
That's how it finishes. That's
so
how
as a result, we're able to protect that throughout manufacture and then expose it at the end.
Oh, that's lovely.
So on a Supersport, unlike other Morgans, you can actually see a little bit of that wooden frame when you open the boot. Just to point at people and say,
great.
It's not the chassis, you know.
It's the frame, yeah. So the Plus 4 doesn't have that.
So Plus 4 doesn't have that.
So Supersport, that's really cool. I feel like you want it.
Absolutely.
You want to be able to show people a little bit, don't you, that you've got a bit of wood in there.
Here on the inside, you can see that wood has disappeared because it's got all the leather being upholstered directly onto it.
So beneath that,
you can see a bit of wood there where there's a bit of overspray from the paint.
Bit of ash.
The leather and the foam goes directly on top of that.
And this is wood.
And again, that's that kind of zero waste attitude. Aluminium on the outside, wood in the middle, leather on there.
Yeah.
Very good at controlling vibrations and harshness because it's wood. It naturally absorbs energy.
Yeah.
It's actually fantastic in crash as well. Not that it needs to be because the structure does the job for us there. The doors, you can see there's a huge side beam here inside the doors. Historically, Morgan doors have been mounted to the outside of the wooden frame. And so essentially they sort of, if you can imagine, they sort of pivot from a singular point on the outside of the car. On Supersport, you can see there's a huge hinge bracket that actually goes through and directly onto the chassis now.
Oh, that's massive.
So it actually cantilevers out. And that means the door comes in like this instead of pivoting like this.
Yeah.
Which means we can get much bigger, much more compliant seals on the car all around the outside, which means closes like a Golf. You know, it closes like a car door now. So
better for wind noise, I guess, and stuff like that.
And a Plus 4, you know, is your quintessentially British sports car. It does have some sort of noise and rattles, but in quite a nice way. Character. Whereas a Supersport is a very calm, very serene environment.
Okay.
You can sit at full speed on the Autobahn and just feel relaxed. You know?
Okay.
Highly upgraded sound system inside the car as well. Just a really nice place to be.
I'm getting lots of ideas to my spec, John. Interior finishes.
I mean, look at some of these in here. This is different every day in here.
I love the bit of wood at the back.
You get a few British racing greens. This is nice. What's this? A sort of a bit of a tealy green.
Yeah, it is.
Nice. And over here we've got a beautiful Plus 4. Look at that.
Nice in pink. Pretty in pink.
The light interior.
Wow, that is bold.
Got the silver dials in there too. Very traditional
nice.
silver.
That is a bold colour choice. off to the States, yeah.
It's amazing.
Cruising down California somewhere, I imagine.
And again, you can see just walking around every different colour.
Yeah.
Here's somebody's opted for sort of a cigar brown.
I think the brown works. It looks good. Yeah.
So it can be very traditional.
Yeah.
Or it can be dressed, you know, like this one, murdered out black on black on black.
Or they've gone black on brown.
Oh, black on
different
brown.
Choice, different choice, haven't they? I love the dark blues. I think
Very
in my
popular,
head, I think a dark blue with like a black wheel or dark wheel.
Yeah.
The light interior.
Just classic.
That's where I'm at, I think. So looks like we're almost at the end then, John, of our production process.
Yep, that's right. So out of the trim shop, final finish, all of the bright work, the details, the car goes on road test, and then comes into here, which is our PDI, pre-delivery inspection department.
Yeah.
So here, all of the polishing, the final fettling, just making sure every car is absolutely perfect before it leaves. Same for Super 3s, Plus 4s, Super Sports.
Super 3s are special, aren't they? They're so cool.
Oh, they're so much fun.
And I didn't realise, you told me a minute ago, 39 grand they start at.
Yep, yeah.
Why is everyone driving Golfs and Ford Pumas when they can drive around in one of these?
Tell us about it.
I know. This is our finished car. She's a beauty. One of your press cars?
One of our press cars. Yeah, this is actually in a copper metallic sort of paint colour.
It's a nice colour.
You can see with Supersport how we've tried to celebrate all of that sort of crafted aluminium body.
Yeah.
By visibly disconnecting it to the chassis and the modern underpinnings below. So big technical front splitter. You've got these extruded aluminium side sills down the side that close the volumes off, manage some of the underbody aerodynamics. Here we're sat on forged machined wheels. So forged aluminium, machined away, gets them super light, less than 9 kilograms.
And these are 19s.
Yep.
That's the bigger option.
That's the
right.
bigger
but
option.
They are lightest
That's
option.
right, yeah, 19's the biggest we do.
Yeah.
We don't like sort of elastic band tyres. We like having a bit of tyre
Bit of meat on the
wall
rubber,
and
agreed, yeah.
Looks more classic, feels better to drive. Pilot Sport 3s, great collaboration with Michelin now, which we're really pleased with.
And this one's got the hard top then? This one's got
it
the roof.
has. So that is actually a carbon fibre hard top. So mainly because of the fact we're sort of manoeuvring that on and off the vehicle, because this can be replaced for the soft top by yourself at home, in 10 minutes. But it's a big panel to move. So this is carbon fibre. And on the back, got this huge piece of glass. We didn't want it to feel too claustrophobic inside. And you drive a Morgan, you've got this connection to the world around you. So big piece of curved glass.
I think that's what makes it actually, now you mention it, look really different at the back. Because you're right, on most other kind of hard top, soft top cars, the window stops down here somewhere, doesn't it? So seeing it come that far vertically down makes a big difference.
And when you're outside, especially driving away from the sun, it floods the cabin with light. It's brilliant.
Awesome. So that leads me on to my final question, John. Please have a go.
Absolutely, you can.
Can I have a key off you?
There's
Thanks
the
very much. I promise to be careful and I promise to enjoy myself.
Have fun.
Right, we've seen how it's put together. Let's see how it drives. Key the ignition, hit the start button. Comes to life with a thud. So BMW B58 6-pot turbo 3 litre, very familiar BMW gear lever. Off we go. Straight away it purrs, it really purrs. Hey up, another Morgan. Look at this, we're in Morganville. So straight away it's got a very deep bellow from that engine. Actually the exhaust note is really deep. Kind of don't know why you get in this car and you kind of expect to hear something, kind of higher pitched noise, but it's very, very familiar sound. Will be to you BMW boys anyway. The visibility in here is lovely, and the light, like John said, the light you get from the huge window in the back of the hardtop is amazing. So this one is spec with a dynamic handling pack, so it comes with a nitron dampers that are 24-way adjustable instead of the standard Spax options. That's the £3 optional extra. It's got a limited slip diff, that's another couple of grand. Obviously it's got the carbon hardtop, which I think improves rigidity by another 10% or so. And over this road, which is a pretty bumpy road, it does feel very stiff. It doesn't feel like there's any kind of flex or scuttle shake or anything like you would get. So currently we're in drive in its lazier sport mode, ZF 8 speed. And who knows what gear it's in now. It is straight up the gears really quickly. Steering wheel's a nice size. It's not as small as a Caterham, and it kind of isn't too big for the car either. Paddles, now they're fixed paddles. They're fixed to the column, but then only half the paddle itself actually moves. Every time I think of fixed paddles, I think of big, like brushed aluminium ones that come the whole length of the wheel on one side. But actually, in all fairness, there wouldn't be enough room for that, because if they were down here, you'd hit your leg on it. And the wheel can't be any bigger because your elbow would be in the door. Paddles themselves perhaps don't feel 100% as high quality as everything else in here, because the rest of the interior is stunning. It's really, really lovely. The kind of, it's like a deep reddy brown leather with the tweed inlay in the center of the seats, and this kind of teak with the aluminium inlay down the centre console in the doors is beautiful. Right, national speed limit. Let's drop it down a couple of gears. Holy smokes! That goes well. That goes really well. I didn't expect it to go that well, but of course it will. It's got 335 horsepower, 370 foot-pounds of torque in something that weighs 1,170 kilos. What did I expect? Now, the other thing that is so good about this is, even though you feel really low to the road, you still feel much higher than your bonnet and your wings. So the visibility for seeing where the front of the car is amazing. Right, pop it in sport mode. Right, yeah, you get a bit more throttle response in sport mode. Oh, it's got so much torque. That was fourth gear. Fourth gear at about 50 and it pulled like that. That's mad. Right, Sport Plus. Let's knock the old traction control off. Right, give it some. Got so much traction, wow! That was full power with everything off and it just gripped. Those Michelin tyres, they are doing bits. That was incredible how much traction it had. Did not expect it. This is nice to drive. So yeah, base price on these, 102 grand, about 105 on the road. With the dynamic handling pack, the Nitron dampers, with the LSD, with the carbon roof, this one is getting closer to 120. And in here, you know, the brushed aluminium dash panel, the lovely teak interior, the lovely door cards, it feels every bit worth it, perhaps with the exception of those steering wheel paddles. And the little screen doesn't perhaps feel quite as high quality as everything else in here. Apart from that, it is a beautiful place to be inside. So Morgan always put the speedometer on the passenger side and the rev count on the driver's side, because the driver should be more focused on the revs than the speed. I appreciate that. Yeah, another Morgan, give him a flash, happy days. National speed limit, let's drop it down a couple this time. Oh, the pops and bangs you get. Off we go. So much torque. That is so fast. That is so fast. It shouldn't be this fast. Something that looks like a Morgan, I feel like shouldn't be this fast, but you enjoy it when it is. Alright, let's do a standard start. Ready? Just grips, even with traction control off. Gets to 60 so quickly. Officially 3.9 seconds to 60, and you can believe it. It's so fast. It's got so much traction. Limited slip diff helps, but those big Michelins definitely helping out as well. What a lovely car. Yeah, if you shut your eyes, you would never think you're in a Morgan, never, but the character that comes from the engine, that combined with this car that looks like this, that is this well put together and is handmade by all those guys back there at the factory so painstakingly, is an incredible recipe. And Morgan, I think, they built a wonderful machine in the Supersport, and I'm very grateful that I get to drop it down a few cogs, put my foot down and enjoy it. Mamma mia!